Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Eden Road podcast, where on today's show we're going over another away loss. We're going over two away losses actually, because we've not spoken about Arsenal. We did a Spurs preview, but obviously the games being so close together, we haven't had a chance to talk about Arsenal. So we do that at the top of the show. Craig, how are you?
Can't we just play every game at home?
Genuine question.
Genuine question. Can't we just play every game at home? Like, please, for the rest
I
of
mean,
the
it would help. It would help. Dan, how are you?
Oh, good. The ironic thing is the one period away from home that was a good period this year was obviously the back end of last season, and we couldn't win at home around that period. So if we could just get them both right at the same time, we should try it maybe one time.
Yeah, 100%. Before we get going, remember to drop a comment down below with your thoughts around both of these games that we're going to talk about today. Subscribe to the YouTube and Spotify channels. Follow us on the socials. At the Eden Road on Twitter, at Eden Road Pod on Instagram. The way we're going to do this today is that we've had so many questions from the Spurs game, so we won't talk about either the Arsenal game or the Spurs game in too much detail, because I don't think there's a load of talking points. We'll kind of rattle through them, and then we'll just get to all the questions that we've been sent in, because they all kind of strike a similar tone. But boys, we'll start with Arsenal. Loads of changes made from the start. Kind of written off the game before it even started with the amount of changes that we made. But Craig, it was fucking better than Spurs, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that when you go into a game expecting a defeat and then you actually put up a bit more of a fight than what you really expect going into it, it was a very actually Brentford-esque performance from Arsenal, waiting until the last minute to kill a game off. But I quite enjoyed it. It could have been a lot worse. Raya makes a fantastic save from Kevin Schade header. We had chances from long throws. There was a very uncharacteristic long throw from us in the second half, I recall, where we've won the header at the front post, and then no one is following in at the back post. It could have been a different story, but it could have also been 7 or 8-0. So I'm happy.
Dan, Arsenal?
Well, Arsenal made changes too, isn't it? So I think it's to be expected at this point in the season. Doesn't give me much hope for the Man City Cup game we got coming up in a couple of weeks. I think we'll see even more changes there. But yeah, we went bad. Yeah, that Schade chance has to go in. You're not going to get many chances away at Arsenal. But we stayed in the game, still could have created a bit more. I thought, we were having a bit more territory and possession than I thought we'd have, but we didn't really translate that into chances, which is a bit of the story of a lot of our away games this season. But yeah, like you said, Arsenal are probably in a different level to anyone else in the Premier League this season at the moment. So it's nothing to be too disappointed about. Obviously, the main source of frustration and disappointment having rest those players is them coming back in and not really performing at all against Spurs.
Yeah, I think that's Arsenal done. Okay, that was a while ago. We'll chalk that off. It looks like they're going to win the league, although they did lose on Saturday, sorry, which kind of made it a little bit interesting. But with all of that in mind, let me tee up the Spurs game for you, Craig. Spurs won one game at home all season long. That was against Burnley on the first day. There was a pretty toxic atmosphere around Thomas Frank before the game. I had Flav on the pod, and he said it was about 50-50, but a lot of social media was kind of Frank out at this point. As you mentioned, decent performance against Arsenal with all the changes that we made. Defended for the whole game, but rested big players. They all came back into the lineup on Saturday against Spurs. Off the back of all that, Craig, your initial thoughts from the Tottenham game on Saturday?
Well, my initial thoughts for everything is I don't know how many more away games I can really muster. And we've got Wolves coming up as well, and I have no confidence in going to the Molineux and coming away with anything. A team that's got 2 points all season, but you're going into a game this weekend, a team that's won one home game all season versus a team that's won one away game all season. Going into it, I thought, man, this has got 0-0 written all over it, especially with the changes that we make. You bring those back in. You're going into this game with a stronger team, probably our strongest lineup that you could really expect, bar maybe Hickey or Rico for Christopher Raya at left back. It's really what you would expect to see, but it was awful across. I can't really put into words how poor it was, especially after resting all the players that we did against Arsenal, to then put in that. It wasn't even mediocre.
It was garbage.
It was awful.
Yeah, Dan.
Spurs were just quicker, they were sharper, they were more aggressive, they were more intense. They looked like they wanted it more. And, I was really up for this one. And surely the players who were here last season, playing against your old boss who left you to go to what for him was a bigger job, surely they wanted to prove something to him. Surely they went, they were going into that game thinking, we've got to show him, because actually Tottenham aren't that much better than us, if at all. But the way we played, like, it was just a complete letdown. And it feels like when big games come along, the last couple of games against Fulham as well, obviously that's a big game to us as fans, we just don't seem to turn up for them, and it's really disappointing. And their home form was bad. It was a chance to correct our away form, but yeah, the performances weren't there, and it's a few too many away performances this season that just weren't there. I don't mind if we don't always get the results. Spurs were good on the day, but we should be doing a lot better than that. We should just be braver and more aggressive.
Yeah, I think, like you mentioned, I don't think there's going to be many qualms for Brentford fans if we go there and actually give it a go. But to kind of, I think you said, Craig, in our last episode, to just let them tickle our bellies, basically. And that's what we did against Tottenham on Saturday. We just rolled over, and it was so frustrating to have one shot on target the whole game. And I think Thiago had 3 of our 4 shots. It was, leave it. I crashed out on TikTok a little bit with a video, and just like was so angry because I just like, head was gone. I was one of the last people left in the away, and most people had gone by that point. But it was just such a pathetic performance. We can talk about the goals in a bit more detail, but like I mentioned, we've got loads of questions to get through. But Craig, I mean, the first goal, it's one ball over the top. Sepp has the chance to bring him down. It's a similar story with the second goal, to be honest, but it's just, I don't know how a ball like that can just kind of put us on the back foot so easily. Collins in the middle, I think, as well, just lets Richarlison. I don't know if it's just because Richarlison's quicker than him, but he just gives him so much time in the box. And then the only pass that Xavi could have made when he gets to the byline is that one across the goal. But it's just the defending on Saturday, Craig, was terrible, as bad as I've seen it.
Well, it's not even just the defending, is it? It starts from the midfield. It's how do we allow players time to be able to pick a pass that can just lift over the defensive line anyway? It was the most off I've seen Hendo play. It was not a fantastic performance from Yarmo either, and it was again one of the most off performances I've seen from Mikel Damsgaard as well. But to be able to give players time enough to pick a ball up, put it over the defensive line, in which we play quite I feel like an uncharacteristically high line for us, almost as if we thought we was going to be quick enough to do the defensive work against players like Xavi Simons, who we saw what Xavi Simons could do as well last year in the World Cup, the Euros or whatever it was, as well as what he's done. I think it was for Leipzig, wasn't it? Who was that? Or wherever it was he came from. I can't remember if it was Germany or and we allow players so much time on the ball. What I don't understand is this refusal to make a professional foul. The only one I've seen this season was like Schade against Chelsea. I believe it was Chelsea. Anyway, Kevin Schade jumps on someone's back and makes that foul in the right place. We have opportunities. The second goal is the killer where we don't do it for some reason, or Yarmo doesn't do it. But we take no risks when it comes to that. It was sloppy all round. Yeah, all right. Yeah, Xavi Simons has only got one pass to make when he gets through like that to square the ball to Richarlison. But people were saying in the away end, is that really Nathan Collins' job, or should, like Coyote, who had an off game as well, should he be picking up the runner at the back post as well? Should that be his job? It was just an uncharacteristically off performance from the majority of the team.
Yeah.
It was not fantastic, really.
No, like you mentioned, even Coyote, our best players had off days. I mean, Keller was the only one that stopped it from being 4 or 5. If we didn't have him, we'd have been screwed.
Yep.
But you mentioned, and I don't know if you boys have seen this video that did the rounds on TikTok, or there was someone that tweeted before the game and said Brentford are actually a charity, and we give players their first goals, we give teams their first wins in like ages. And he posted a video after the game as well and actually backed it up, like conceding last minute equalizers and winners. We've done that on 3 occasions in the Premier League. And Xavi, I mean, he's like, that was his breakout performance of the season. Like, he's cost them £60 million. And that was of course, that was going to be the game where he actually looks like a £60 million player. But Dan, I mean, Any complaints over the first goal? Do you want to talk us through the second goal? Maybe. I think the defending is hilarious for the second goal. It's genuinely woeful.
It's never good, is it, when you allow a player to run as far as he managed to run and just finish it without much pressure on him at all. I think Yarmo needs to be just pulling him down earlier.
Yeah.
You know, you give away a foul there, it's a yellow card at most, and we can get back and get into position and reset. And he didn't do it. And obviously, the further he ran, the more risk that it would have had if he did do it. And I think it should have just ended there. And we don't do that enough. And, you know, like we've been saying, all the players are off it, you know, on the ball as well. We just don't keep the ball well enough, and that's a problem all season. I think we've got to be one of the worst Premier League sides at just keeping the ball and building attacks, and that's got to be a problem in a lot of games this season. And to go 2-0 down and then just not create anything, not even change the approach slightly to go for it a little bit more, like we're just too passive. We just let things happen, and I think that's what we did for the goal as well. We just let him run, we just let him score, and it just summed up how passive we were as well for the rest of the game, because there was no point was Thomas Frank worried about what we were going to do. And yes, he knows the players well. Yes, he might have had a good idea of how to beat them and how to combat their strengths. Keith Andrews had known that as well. Keith Andrews knows how Thomas Frank likes to play. I think we've seen a lot of Brentford and Spurs this season as well. So it's just really, really disappointing, and they look so much more up for it. And I just want to see a reaction. Even when it goes in, I want to see a reaction that we're going to try and do something a bit more in the second half. And it just never came at all.
We do that. We do that every week without fail, by the way. Let players pick the ball up around the halfway line or slightly in their own half and then drive 30, 40 yards. We let them do it week in, week out. We did it against Arsenal. We did it against Spurs. And I can promise you this weekend when we play Leeds, we will let them do it as well. It's like, I don't understand it. We're just so comfortable in not having the ball and comfortable in letting teams drive at us. But in that comfort, we then put ourselves under so much pressure. It's like, yeah, okay, you have it. You can do with it what you want. But once they start getting into our third of the pitch, we shit the bed, and we don't really know what to do with it in that scenario. We just need to start being more clever, maybe a bit more cynical with the fouls that we make. We just need to take a book in sometimes, which is what we don't do as a team.
With the second goal as well. I mean, Yarmo, the way that the three players in the middle of the pitch can't sort out an opportunity, ironically enough, where if we actually get the ball and in that situation and don't let Xavi get it, then we're actually in with a chance, because Sharda's on the run, Thiago's on the run. We've got three players. If we actually win the ball in that situation in a 3v1, then ironically, we probably have a dangerous attack on the way. We don't, then Yarmo doesn't make the foul. And then I was watching it back on Match of the Day, and Collins just, for whatever reason, doesn't come across, despite Coyote being close to Richarlison. So you've got Richarlison and Collins marking... No, you've got Coyote and Richarlison... Fucking hell. You've got Coyote and Collins marking Richarlison, and you're just letting Xavi just go into the space when Collins could easily have come across. But it was just... There's so many errors in that goal. It was so avoidable. I tweeted, I said it was probably the worst goal we've conceded all season, just because it's the most avoidable goal that I've seen, because of how many times we could have just stopped their attack, and we just didn't. I mean, should we talk about the Romero red card? We've not had any questions about it, but I mean, at that point, would it have even affected the game? Obviously, it's if buts and maybes, but Craig, is it a red card for Romero?
I think Romero's saving grace is the contact that he makes on the ball or where the ball goes afterwards. That's his saving grace. If he makes no contact with the ball there, it's probably one of the clearest red cards you'll see. But that's his saving grace. But it's the lack of consistency between officials, be it on the pitch or off the pitch in the VAR room across this season. Because this weekend coming, we'll see a challenge like that gets given as a red card. It seems inevitable that one week it will get given, the other week it won't get given. So, but like I say, his saving grace is he gets a lot of contact on the ball, or I think Thiago kicks it into him. I can't remember now, but off the floor, a scissor challenge like that, we'll see it given as a red card next game.
From behind week as well.
Contact shouldn't matter if it's dangerous. You know, you don't see those challenges for a reason. You know, you're not meant to go in and scissor someone like that. And, you know, Romero's very aggressive. He's got previous, and Spurs in general have, you know, we should have taken some aggression from them because it benefited them overall in the game. But the way we played, I just don't think you could argue that it would have really changed the outcome. If anything, Spurs might have then sat back a little bit and we would have struggled breaking them down for the rest of the game for all I know.
Dan, Damsgaard would hit in the second half. Were you displeased about that?
I think this is his worst game this season. So
Yeah.
not so much. I think he's given the ball away far too much. You know, fair play is always trying to make something happen, but we do need to keep the ball in midfield. And Hendo and Diamo weren't doing it either. I think the biggest disappointment. I actually thought Jensen was okay when he came on. I thought he did play a few passes which the others didn't do, but I think the biggest disappointment is there's no one to bring him off for now. You know, Nelson looks to be injured again. Obviously, we've lost Carvalho and Milambo for pretty much the season, so we're looking very, very thin up front. And obviously, Donovan is on the bench, but he seems to be one of the like a token gesture a little bit again. Like, what's the point of him being there if he's not going to come on in that situation where we're not doing anything, we're not showing any threat? Surely you bring him on. Surely, you know, I don't expect him to do anything. I'm someone who's, you know, been quite cautious on that all season, but you know, I don't know where Nunes is either and what's up with him lately, but surely you bring him on, just give him a go in that situation, because what's the worst it can do? Because again, the likes of Kevin Schade they frustrate me so much. And, you know, to some point, what worse can Donovan do in that situation when Schade having an off day?
I mean, everyone was having an off day. We've spoken about it. Damsgaard, Coyote was off it. I think Kelleher is the only one that can walk away with his head held high after that.
I think that two players, and just based on the second half, is Rico Henry again.
Rico Henry,
because I thought Rico at half in the second half was brilliant. Xavi Simons and Mohamed Kudus had Christopher Ajer on toast for that entire first half. They was rinsing him every single time the ball came down our left-hand side. But Rico comes on at half-time, and him and Kelleher are probably, as you say, the two players that can come off of that pitch with their head held high. Again, Rico, I thought he would have started after the Arsenal game, but I'm going into this Leeds fiction. If he's not going to start for whatever reason, be it he's injured again, Rico has to start this weekend. We have to chuck him in and start him because he's been absolutely phenomenal the last two games he's played.
Just on that whole situation, I had an email from Oliver, who listens to the podcast. I think he's Danish or Norwegian potentially, and he was talking about Christopher Ajer and how he has been like Norway's standout defender throughout their whole World Cup qualification campaign. And we've also had a few questions around Nathan Collins and what the hell's going on with him this season, which we've spoken about on the pod quite a bit before. But I would not be opposed to seeing Christopher Ajer start a game at centre half. Because against Arsenal, I actually thought he was our best defender, and he just looks more composed on the ball than Collins does this season, which you couldn't say about Collins last season. But I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Collins having a rest, because I just think, or Sepp, one of them, just think I looked really comfortable, and he is a centre half. That's the position that we bought him in. But for some reason, despite having three left backs on the bench, we're shoehorning him in at left back. So thanks for that question, Oliver. Should we touch on some more questions, because we've got loads to get through? Anything else from the Spurs game that we wanted to talk about in particular? Not that there was much at all on our end, at least.
No, I agree with Ajer. I don't think he should be looked at as a left back option. Again, it just sends a bad message, I think, to people like Rico Henry and Aaron Hickey on the bench, who can play there and it's their natural position. But yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to him coming in at centre back here and there.
Let us know in the comments. Does Ajer need to be given a game at centre half? Because, like I said, I thought he was really good against Arsenal. Let's move on to some questions. Zahara, who I bumped into pre-match, so it's nice to see you, Zahara, but she's asking, as much as I love them, should we still be calling on some of our Championship players? And if not, who should we be looking at in the Jan window? I did think this when Janelt came on and we're searching for a goal. And obviously he's one that's been linked with a move away, Craig. What do you reckon on that? Should we still be calling on some of our champions? I mean, Jensen, I think, has been by and large good this season whenever he's featured. But what do you reckon?
Well, I suppose it depends on who those Championship players are, aren't they? Because we just said Rico as well.
Yeah,
like Rico, I would start him now ahead of Christopher Ajer at left back. I would have Jensen coming in as a late substitution to try and put the ball forward further up the pitch or in the back of the net as he's been doing. But the issue is, I don't think he's calling on those Championship players. The issue is when they come in, they're consistently like for like changes, which will never change the game. There's no positive impact that they can have in being a defensive midfielder or a defender, being the substitutes that we make all the time. In regards to what we look at in Jan, I think that we've got to look at another attacking midfielder now, especially with Malambo and Fab, as Dan's already said, being out long term. Damsgaard's not having his most fantastic season so far, so probably an attacking midfielder. But you know, where do you look for that? It's difficult, isn't it? You know, but Brentford plucked these ones out of nowhere, and hopefully it's another master stroke as to what they do. But some of the Championship players, I think that you can still rely on them. Others is probably a step too far now, especially where we want to be looking.
In terms of Jan, I mean, we've spoken about it on the pod before. I don't think the club would look to go and spend big, but I do think with the injuries to Malambo and Fab, they're not in the plan. So I do think a 10 is a person to replace Damsgaard when he's not having a great season, which is such a shame as well, because I thought he was so good against Burnley. I really wanted him to kind of kick on and actually have a good performance against Spurs. But I would say, yeah, a 10. And I think, if anything, what Saturday showed more than anything else is that if we lose Thiago, especially around the time we're going to lose Dango to AFCON, we are stuffed up front. Like, we don't have anyone else, because Nelson's, I don't know where Nelson is. I think someone's asked about Nelson. I'll see if I can find the question, Dan. Yeah, Jake on Twitter is asking, is it fair for us to call the Nelson signing a failure? Hasn't done anything up until this point. Is hurt, which isn't weird when we need him now. In Benham and Giles we trust, but we still have to acknowledge their misses, even if they're few and far between. What do you reckon, Dan?
I'm confused as to why he's not been given more opportunities before he got this injury. We were calling for him to start a week ago, and obviously he hasn't really been able to do that. He's looked good in the cup when he's come on. Against Palace away, he looked good. He was our best player from the period he entered the pitch till the end of the game. He was the only one that looked like he was going to get a goal for us that day. So, he's clearly a good player. And I can see him, if he can stay injury free, I can see him getting into the team and potentially staying in the team. And I think, I don't know how bad his injury is now, but if he's better in the next, week or two, I suspect he would play, because Shada's banned at the weekend. I would have thought he would have been the one to come in for him. When Dango leaves, I would have thought that he'd be the one to come in for him. So it would be very frustrating if he is injured. I know it's something he suffered with throughout his career. But, if we're talking about Brentford signings who get injured shortly after they join, he wouldn't be the first. Perhaps that's why we have only loaned him, because we want to test that fitness side of him out. But yeah, I mean, I guess the other one we haven't spoken about is Josh Da Silva. I think he's on the grass in some form. I don't know whether we'll see him this season. Obviously now he's signed a contract, but, even having someone like him back, if we can get him fit, he is a midfielder who will score goals, who will progress the ball forward. You'd much rather see him come on than if we're looking for a goal. But, the fact we're looking to people like Da Silva and Nelson, who are known for their injury records, just shows, the problems we have and the lack of depth we have going forward.
Craig, what do you reckon? Failure? I think failure is absolutely right. I mean, we were saying it. Why aren't we seeing more of Nelson? And he's just injured the whole time. It's just that whole loan. Just I don't see the point of it at all, to be honest.
It feels if it is injuries and things like that, it feels unfair to call it a failure, because it's not really something that's in his control. But when he's fit, and then I can't remember which game it was. Someone will tell me, is when he's fit and then he's not even involved in the matchday squad. That's when you're questioning, what was the point in bringing him in? What's the point of that loan? And obviously, we don't know for sure, do we, whether or not this is a loan with an option to buy as well. But if you're looking at this, thinking there's no way we buy him next summer based on this loan that we've had from him, on that premise, you'd say, yeah, it's a failure, because there's no way we're going to keep him permanently. Feels unfair if it is injuries, because it's out of his control. But like I say, when he's not even involved in the matchday squad, what's the point? What was the point in bringing him in?
Craig, we got another question from Mark on Twitter saying, only for us fans to emphasise we need to fight, no need to look pretty. Only Thiago and Rico, when he came on, were really up for it on Saturday, which I think we both kind of said already. Leeds won't be shrinking violets on next Sunday. The Prem is back to previous century style, which is effective. I mean, I still think we have enough quality, like with what we've shown at home. I still think we've got enough quality to beat Leeds, but with the recent results they've had, obviously a win over Chelsea and a dramatic last-minute equaliser against Liverpool, it's squeaky bum time a little bit if Leeds come up to the G-Tech or come down to the G-Tech on Sunday and we don't get a result, Craig.
Yeah, but we're at home, so
Yeah.
I'm confident again.
Yeah, exactly.
All of a sudden, I'm confident again. If this was at Elland Road, I'm thinking there's no way we go to Elland Road and come away with anything. But we're at home, so I'm confident that we'll put in the right performance and we'll get the right result. Now I've said that, you never know. But yeah, Sharda's out. So and this might tie into another question as well as to KLP is, but Sharda is out, suspended for this game because of his 5 yellow cards. Who starts at that in that position? Because
probably KLP.
But KLP hasn't lit the world on fire when he's played forward. He's a fantastic defender. I would still love to see him at left back if we're not playing Rico or Aaron Hickey for whatever reason because of how well he did last season. When we've seen him in those positions further forward, he doesn't seem to... He picks the ball up, he progresses the ball well, but he doesn't seem to offer anything solid in front of goal, which is obviously very surprising for a forward and attacking player. So I'm not sure about that one. But Leeds are going to be full of confidence, as you just said. 2 massive results. 3 beating Chelsea 3-1 and then drawing 3-3 at home to Liverpool. Although, beating Liverpool at home or drawing at home to Liverpool in the season that they're having, maybe not as impressive as what it was as what it would look like last season. But they're going to be full of confidence on the back of these 2 results. We need to put them in their place. And, funny thing is, if we win this game, we're probably 3-4 points off of the European places. But the problem is, if we lose this game, we could be 4 or 5 points off of the bottom 3. It is still so tight in the middle of the table at the moment that anyone could go anywhere. We need to.
We've had a question from Donny, and it kind of relates to the games we've got coming up. He says the Leeds game next Sunday is massive. 4 of the next 6 in the league at home, and the other 2 winnable aways against Wolves and Everton. So looking at our fixtures, we've got Leeds on Sunday. Then we've got the quarterfinal against Man City, which will be interesting at the Etihad. And we travel to Wolves, who are yet to win a game all season, let alone a home game.
Dr. Brentford. Dr. Brentford's coming.
Exactly. We were Dr. Tottenham against Dr. Brentford on Saturday. And then we've got Bournemouth at home. Then we play Spurs at home, and then we've got Everton away. I don't know. I think this game on Sunday, if we flip the script again, Dan, and we just comfortably beat Leeds, then we do have an issue where it's just like, well, what the hell is the difference anymore? Because I don't know.
It could look very different. Again, it's very similar to last season in some ways, where we were winning our home games, weren't winning our away games, and it felt like we were taking a step forward and then a step back every other week. And there's no reason we can't win, these home games we've got coming up at least. And the one thing you can rely on in terms of away performances, we played West Ham when they were really struggling, and we were able to show our quality against them. Now, Wolves will be in a very similar predicament. I think they've got a couple of tough games before they play us, so it's very likely they'll still be on 2 points. So if we go into that game, they're still on 2 points. They will be low on confidence. They shouldn't be very good. Wouldn't have thought. And it's possible we could put in a performance. I'm not confident, but it's possible. And that kind of stature of team when they're struggling a little bit, we have shown that we can do okay in away games against them. But that's the frustration. I feel like it will look different every week, to be honest, rather than in a few weeks' time. I think when we play at home, we're on a high and we feel like we're looking up the table and we can get better. I think the fact we've had 2 away games in a row has just highlighted, the downside of how we're doing. But I still think we'll be fine in terms of the Premier League as a whole. Yes, I'm a bit disappointed that we're not really pushing that top half, and I don't think we're going to unless we fix that away form. I just can't see that happening at the moment. But you've got to look at the season as a whole and see what we've lost this summer. I don't think this was ever going to be the season where we actually achieve that European finish, but yeah, I think it will be different in a few weeks. I think we will pick up some results in the next few weeks, but then the problem will still be there in terms of away from home. Second half of the season, we've got to go on a little run at some point.
Craig, we have another question from Wandering Bee. He's asked a few. I think we've covered a few already. Why do we not score from corners anymore? I think we've had a few questions around set pieces because against Tottenham, they were pretty shambolic. Why don't we fight and scrap anymore? What has KLP done wrong? Why is Ayer at left back? But most importantly, why are we so bad away from home? Marty also asking, why can't we play with intensity away from home? It does feel like, it's so strange, right? Because we play Newcastle at home. And I think for me, that was a game that we pretty much dominated from start to finish. More so in the second half when we were chasing a goal. But even in the first half, I think we had one chance and one goal and we had a few and we didn't put them away. I don't understand. I don't know if it's a mentality thing. And we've got another question about mentality as well from Ali, Craig. I don't know. I'm going to wrap about 4 questions into one and then fire them at you. But Ali said, did the fact that they were up against and under pressure Thomas Frank get in their heads? And sorry, if we all know what the subs are going to be, surely the opposition do too. Is Andrews too predictable? So I've given you about 4 questions there, Craig. Why are we not scoring from corners? Are we too predictable? Why don't we fight and scrap anymore? And why can't we play with intensity? Take your pick.
Right. Andrews is too predictable, yes, because every single substitution is like for like. The most surprising thing he's done all season is to substitute at half-time against Spurs on Saturday, because I don't think we've seen a half-time sub this season elsewhere. Why don't we score from corners anymore? Because they're shit corners. But so many times as Brentford fans over the last few years, we've gone, just beat the first man. Just beat the first man and then attack the ball. But our problem is we like to hit the shortest player at the front post so that they can clear the ball. And we do it consistently. Our throw-ins from Coyote go further into the box than what our corners do. And then if our corners do go into the box, they go all the way across and out the other side for a goal kick. We lost Norgard, who attacked the ball from corners. We, for some reason, don't have Nathan Collins attacking the ball from corners, which is what he did a lot last season.
And when he does, he misses.
And when he does, he misses. Sepp hasn't scored yet for us, by the way. He should be in and around there. But I mean, when you take Sepp and Collins out of the equation, assuming that those are the only two centre backs on the pitch, excluding Christopher Ayer as well. Who do we have? Again, excluding Thiago, that's going to attack the ball in the air. Because, I mean, if KLP and Rico are on the pitch, there's a combined height of 7 foot there.
And Damsgaard.
And Damsgaard's on the pitch. You then, maybe Hendo will attack the ball, but we've got no one with any real aerial presence. Which is funny saying that when all Sharda and Dango do is win flick-ons when the ball is coming from the goal kick. But when they're in front of goal, I don't trust any of them to win a header. I don't know. That's a great question.
It's not a new problem, is it? It's not a new problem with the corners. I think last year Keith Andrews himself was getting some stick because he weren't scoring from enough corners. And obviously he had the kickoff routines and we had the long throws and we're defending corners really well, which generally we still do. But scoring from corners, I don't know if we need to mix it up, work on a few more new routines. Some teams like, Arsenal are the gold standard. You see their routines as they're doing it. You see what each player's role is. Can we be a bit more aggressive? Someone on the keeper, can we use more blockers to get the people we want in the air free? And obviously then you are still relying on the cross coming in as it should do and not hitting the first man, otherwise it's all out the window. But we could see a little bit more, I think, in terms of routines and things like that. But it's not a new problem. As good as we have been from set pieces, scoring from corners has been a problem. I always wish we have a throw in when we got a corner, personally.
Yeah, I mean they're better.
In terms of the other part of all of those questions, in why are we so bad away from home? What do you put your finger on there? Because it's chalk and cheese. It's hot and cold. Like how I don't understand how that's possible.
I was thinking it was something to do with like the fact that at home we played teams where we were allowed to sit in against like some of the bigger teams, the game plan was to kind of sit in and hit them on the break, especially against Liverpool, against Chelsea, for example. I was asked the same question on another pod: why are you so good at home and bad away from home? But then we played against Burnley and we played against Newcastle and United to a certain extent. Those were games where we saw more of the ball and we still had a lot of chances in those games to put it to bed. I am at the point now where I can't put my finger on why the performance level, maybe not the result. I don't care about the result. But if you look at our games so far this season in the away games, can you really say we've played like to the level that we have at home in any game apart from West Ham? I mean, even like Sunderland, that game still pisses me off, and I've said that many times. But we weren't amazing. The only game where we've reached the levels that we've had at home is West Ham away, I would say. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. This is a good pod. People are asking us questions we don't know the answer.
I think again, it's not just a Brentford problem. There are other teams. Newcastle fans would tell you when they came to Brentford that they had no hope of winning that. But if we were to go to St James's Park, I would have thought they would have had all the confidence all of a sudden. It's a weird thing in football, isn't it? I mean, Tottenham are probably the only example of a team who probably feel more confident away from home at the moment than at home. It is a weird thing. I think home advantage is a thing, but it shouldn't be this stark. Like we are one of the best teams at home. We're one of the worst teams away. Like factually, only Wolves have less points away from home than us. So we obviously are really underperforming. But it's not a problem that doesn't exist elsewhere, but it's just more stark here. And even last season, it's just strange how one away win then turned into 5 in a row after we hadn't won all season. It's just it must be a mentality thing, because just using that example, we won once and then we all of a sudden had the confidence to go on and keep performing. So it's a weird one. Even at Arsenal we were okay, but maybe we were okay because we didn't feel that pressure on us so much, because we knew that we were Arsenal and that they're the best team in the Premier League, and we had nothing really to lose in that game. I don't know. It's a weird one, but I think it must be some kind of mentality.
It's funny, you look at the away games that we had last season at the start, where it was like Liverpool, United, Spurs, City, all in like the first 5 weeks, wasn't it? 5 games away from home. And then this year you've got Forest, Sunderland, Fulham, Forest, Sunderland, Fulham, Spurs, Arsenal. Okay, yeah, you don't necessarily expect to get anything from them, but you're thinking, and West Ham obviously with a win, thinking, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 points away from home, win your home games, get some points away from home. But we don't look like the team that we are at home. We look scared to have the ball. We don't look confident in ourselves, and we don't look confident in our teammates. I can't fathom why we look scared to have the ball. When we're away from home, we don't look comfortable in possession. We look to make quick, rash passes, which are over the top, which are overhit or underhit, in which defenders can clear them easily. But when we're at home, maybe it's a difference in crowds and things like that. Like maybe it's a difference in crowds and stadium sizes, and we're just bottling it at these big places, but I don't know why we would be. We've been in the Premier League for 5 years now. Yeah. It's not like this is new. But at home, we're comfortable. We're confident. We trust each other. We trust that what one person is going to do is going to positively impact what the next person is going to do. But when we're away from home, we immediately revert to Sunday League hoofball, anti-football, which is never going to result in a positive outcome. It's not good enough, and it's not consistent enough. But as soon as that away form starts leaking into our home form, then we've got a real problem.
I think what worried me a little bit about the game on Saturday is that it was the same kind of performance that we've seen in the big games away from home with Keith Andrews so far. And I don't think there's been any kind of, and I know he doesn't have a plan B, is a really easy thing to say about a manager, but away from home, I've not seen any kind of, there's been no in-game problem solving. There's been no, this isn't working, let's do something different. It's just, let's have more of the ball. Let's rely on long throws. Let's knock it to Thiago and hope that he holds the ball up. And I think that's a touch of concern. But we have another question from Robert, Dan. Can you please discuss our defending? Before the season started, Andrew said we need to be better defensively because of all the changes up front. Yet we still hardly ever keep a clean sheet. We need to score at least 3 goals to win an away game. What do you reckon?
Well, again, talking about away games, when you're poor on the ball and you're not keeping the ball, and we are pretty bad at keeping the ball, and I don't know why that is the case. Maybe the reason why we're doing a bit better at home is people give us a bit more time on the ball. They're a bit more cautious against us when at the G-Tech because they know what we can do. So maybe as a result, we get a bit more time on the ball, a bit more time to play those passes. But when we're under pressure, and Tottenham are really aggressive against us at the weekend, we can't keep the ball, and we easily turn over possession. And I think when you're inviting so much pressure, when you're giving away the ball so much, any team, no matter how good your defense is, you're going to concede more goals. And we've spoken about Collins. His levels have dropped this season. He's more inconsistent. He has those lapses where he loses a bit of concentration. It's a young back four. Yes, they're gelling as well with a new keeper, but I think we criticised Kelleher slightly at the beginning of the season, but I'm very comfortable with him in goal now. Yeah. The only thing I'd say is maybe his distribution, his kicking, especially his long kicking, could be a bit more accurate. But I think it is just down to us conceding more territory, losing the ball sloppily, and losing it in dangerous areas, and then not closing down, being a bit passive at times. Because that's been another problem. Sometimes when we press well, but then sometimes we're really passive, too passive, and we drop back, especially after we score quite often. So I think all those things just make for a pretty bad outcome. But what I will say about away form as well, again, is there were 9 Premier League games this weekend. There was 1 away win, so it's a thing. It is a thing, home advantage, and Liverpool got a draw, Palace won, everyone else lost, I think, out of the away side. So that just goes to show, there's probably dozens of podcasts being recorded today about why their team is shit away from home. So
we've played, I think we've played 7 away games in the league so far this season. So excluding Bournemouth in the cup and excluding Grimsby in the cup, we've had 2 away games outside of London, being Forest and Sunderland in the 2 opening away games that we had. Do you think that if those games had been Brighton had been Newcastle, Everton, Liverpool, United, City, and we'd lost all of those, do you think people would kick up more of a stink because they're really far away?
Yeah, 100%. Because it's like you said at the top of the pod when you said, I don't know if I can muster another away game. Why would people go to an away game when we're crap away from home? Like, have you the club have bought the whole end for Wolves away before Christmas? They're not going to sell that. They are not. They're not going to get near to selling
2,000. By the way, I'll be surprised if we take 2,000.
Especially with the home form so dire. It's like away form so dire. It's 5 days before Christmas, and they want us to go to Wolves.
But then you've got people like me who think, oh, maybe, just maybe, they're on 2 points. They're on 2 points, so maybe we've got a chance here. I better go.
I remember in the early seasons in the Championship, we went on a run as well where we was just not winning away from home, and me and my dad was like, right, we are going until we win away from home. We are going and going and going, and then we couldn't make 1 game. And we beat Ipswich 3-1 away. It's like, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not going.
We have Alf on Twitter asking, are we walking into a relegation battle? I would say a firm no on this, to be honest. I think at home and away, that you're right. It's completely 2 different. It's a different question, but I just think we've seen enough quality. Like, I just don't think a relegation threatened team or a team that can walk into a relegation can pick up the results that we have and play well in the games that we have at home. But it is just a case of it's like what we said, we just need 1 big away performance to really kind of quash any of those kind of fears that we're walking into a relegation battle. But I mean, with everything that happened in the summer, it's always going to be in the back of people's minds to a certain extent that if we do go on a bit of a barren run and then the home form starts to switch as well, then we could get dragged into it. But I think what can be said is that the overall quality of the league is higher this season, despite Wolves being absolutely shite. But I mean, if you're looking at the bottom 5, even us as well, so like Fulham, Leeds, Forest, West Ham, Burnley. West Ham are in a good bit of form. Forest under Deitch, you don't really see them going down. I mean, same could be said about West Ham with Nuno at the helm. Leeds looked like they were going to go down, apart from like 2 other good results that have kind of propelled them out of the relegation zone. Burnley, it kind of looks like the end for Scott Parker potentially at some point. But I think definitely the overall quality of the league is higher, but it doesn't help anyone's kind of nerves, the fact that the table is so tight. And like you mentioned, if you lose a game, you go much closer to the relegation zone. If you win a game, then you're not far away from the Champions League spots. That definitely doesn't help. What do you reckon, Dan?
I think you actually only need to be good at home to not get relegated. You know, if we continue on our current path of being good at home and shit away, then we'll still stay up. I think that's all you need to stay up. Obviously, the concern would be if the home form was to drop and the away form was to stay as it is, then potentially we could be dragged into it. But no, I don't think I see it. I think Burnley and Wolves would be 2 of them, and I'll be surprised to see anyone not think that would be 2 of them. And then obviously we've already put ourselves in a position where we've got a bit of breathing room on the rest at the moment. That's why it's important. Games like Leeds are important. The gap between us and Leeds will be, I think 1 point if they beat us. Whereas you're looking at 7 or 8 points if we beat them. So they're the big games, just like Burnley was, and obviously we came out the other end of that. You'd like to think though that we'd be better than even Fulham this season. They're not really picking up results. You'd like to think we'd be better than one of those sides. Looking at West Ham, Forest, Fulham, and Leeds.
I mean, but to be fair, Fulham did basically dominate us from minute 1 to minute 90 in the game that we played against them.
Talk about the rest of the season. We're away though. Wait until they come to the G-Tech.
That's getting clipped.
Yeah, that is getting clipped. Craig, Pseudo Hick is asking, it appears long-time fans of the club are okay with mediocre play and say things like, well, remember where we came from, so just be happy about it. What is this about? This isn't a new thing. We've been called happy clappers for ages by some people. But I don't think any of us have ever said that on the pod. When we come, and kind of relates to what someone in the comments of our last video kind of said, we go overboard with criticism, but we criticize because that's what we have to do. Like, we're not just going to stand or do a podcast and say everything's rosy when it's not. We were shite against Spurs, absolutely shite across the board. But I'm not sure. I don't know who Pseudo Hick is talking about here when he's saying some fans are happy with. We're just saying, look, we'll remember where we came from. I've not seen too much of that after the Spurs game, to be honest. I mean, having said that, going into the start of the season, if you told us that we were going to lose back to back against Arsenal and Spurs away from home, I don't think too many people would have had an issue with that. But it's just circumstantial with where Spurs were and where their home form was. You get your hopes up over a big performance and then you get served up slop, which is why I think the reaction's been what it has. A few more questions to get through.
Well, I'm glad I could answer that one that you put to me.
Sorry, did you want to answer it, Craig?
You already did.
MKW Ultra, Craig, I'll throw this one to you. What is Keith's plans for creating chances? Alarmingly often, even against Burnley, our forwards have been asked to do what feels like a lot more work by themselves to create and take chances compared to previous years. That's, I think, fair. The midfield feels much less involved with the goals that we do score. What do you reckon, Craig?
I think that last point in the midfield feels much less involved is because of the season that Mikel Arteta had last year. People expected him to be just fully involved in everything that we do this season. And unfortunately, he hasn't yet hit the levels of what he had hit last year, which means he's not creating as many chances. He's not as involved in going forward as what we would really like him to be. But a lot of our goals this season, you got to think they've just sort of been pick the ball up in our third of the pitch and just get it forward as quickly as you can. Get it forward as quickly as you can. Hope we can catch them on the counter. A lot of our goals this season have come from counter-attacks where we sit back and let teams press us and then we'll catch them. But in sitting back and letting teams attack us and catch them, what that will do is it will completely bypass the midfield. It takes the midfield out of the equation when the ball is just going to go from, okay, yeah, it might be Henderson who picks the ball up, but he's in our back line when he's doing this. Pick the ball up, play it long. You look at Thiago's goal against United. You look at Sharda's goal against Chelsea. You look at Sharda's goal against Liverpool. So many instances, so many occasions where the midfield doesn't need to be involved in the goals that we score because it is just play it long, catch them on the counter, use the pace of the attackers to score. and that's where the midfield will get lost in these games. What was the other part? And he said,
I think that's it. It was just we're too reliant on the forwards to kind of create and take chances themselves.
The first part, what is Keith's plan in creating chances? There's a video, isn't there, from the start of the season where he says to Kevin Schade, when they lose the ball at our right back position, there is gaps behind their left back. It seemed clear going into this season, his game plan is win the ball deep, get them to play high so that we could catch them on the counter. And didn't work against Burnley because, lo and behold, Burnley don't want the ball. Yeah. They want us to have the ball, so it's not going to work. We had to create. We got a penalty. Probably fortunate to get a penalty, but that seemed to kickstart the game. And then it was when they felt like they could attack us. That's when the chances start appearing. We've had no luck, it feels, this season at the moment. But Keith Andrews needs to take some risks, man. He's too one-dimensional at the moment.
Yeah, far too one. I think as well. Another big difference between last season and this season is Damsgaard. I think a lot of our attacking play went through Damsgaard last season, and this season it is just the forwards that we're relying on to kind of create chances, and Henderson with the occasional long ball. Brentford Spain's asking, the team's too Thiago dependent, Dan. We don't have any attackers on the bench. We need a creative midfielder. We need another good centre back. We need a starting left back. Would you spend money on signings in January, or would you wait until the summer to sign better players?
Yes, because if Thiago's injured, like we said, who's going to play there? Nobody. And obviously we've lost a few depth options. No doubt it would be Dango or Schade down the middle, but I'm not sure I fancy that too much. I think Dango and Schade, to an extent, they've been below par in some games, and they're just kind of getting away with it at the moment because there is no one else behind them putting pressure on them to get their place in the team. So we definitely need to add players to that area of the pitch. Of course we do. Thiago is scoring a large portion of our goals. Kevin Schade in particular, given his numbers last season, I expected more from him at this stage of this season. He's on course to end on a lower total than he finished on last season. And, that's not the kind of progression we want to see. Yes, we are. I don't think you can deny that we're quite reliant on him for goals. Luckily, we've got a knack of producing, no matter who comes and goes, we've got a knack of producing seemingly 20 goal a season Premier League strikers, which is absolutely brilliant. And a lot of teams would bite your hand off for that. But yeah, like I said before, so many players in that starting lineup have not scored for Brentford. Even Hendo, I'd expect him to get a couple. Yarmo, he needs to start scoring here and there. I'm not talking regular goals, but the team needs to contribute. You look at Norgard, he got 4 or 5 last season. And when you don't have Mbuma and Wissa, yes, Thiago's taken a lot of that load, but the others do need to chip in more, centre backs from set piece situations. Even someone like Aaron Hickey, you can see him potentially getting a couple. We got a good one in the cup. So yeah, they do need to chip in, but it's again the way we create chances. And I agree with Craig. We're relying, if we're not relying on the more direct approach, it's set pieces. And then in games where the opposition don't want the ball, in games like Burnley, that's when someone like Damsgaard becomes more important, because then your backup plan needs to be get him on the ball in good areas so he can unlock tight defenses, because he's the one that can do that potentially. And that's why, Jensen probably started against Burnley as well.
Couple more on Andrews, Craig, I'll throw to you before we look ahead to Leeds quickly. P. McBee, great name, says, Andrews is not up to it. I'm sorry, but the man hasn't got a clue. It's the same like-for-like subs, predictable. The blind persistence with Schade, predictable. And what has happened to Collins? And then we've got Hounslow Boy saying, I think it's time for the manager to stop saying we're rebuilding. The away form has been pitiful. Is it fair to ask fans to travel to witness capitulation? Our attack seems toothless, relatively few goals from open play. Any plans to recruit in January? It does feel like the jury on Andrews kind of flips from game to game. It feels like the people that aren't fully convinced by him, really, you see them after a loss, but after a win it kind of seems like it's the opposite. With it feels like at the moment I think our fan base is like maybe a 70-30 because the home form is keeping him at that point.
Yeah,
But
that's it. I can tell you why it's game to game.
Yeah, Because it's home and away.
Home game, away game, home game.
What do you reckon on Andrews, Craig?
He's like I said already, he's too one-dimensional at the moment. He's put it right. He's too predictable, and when teams are coming to us, and I think there was a question earlier on, wasn't there, where they mentioned if we know what the substitutes are, surely the opposition do.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at our squad and I'm looking at our bench, I'm thinking, all right, give it 60 minutes. Damsgaard might come off for Jensen. Give it another 10 minutes. Christopher Ayer or Rico Henry or Aaron Hickey, whoever that is, might come on for another left back. Give it another 10 minutes and we're in the 90th minute. Oh, then we might make an attacking substitution. All you have to do is look at his track record of substitutions throughout the season to know exactly what is going to happen. There must be a trend of the substitutions that he makes and the times in which he makes him. Like I say, the biggest anomaly of substitutes that we've seen this season is the Rico Henry substitute that we just had on the weekend, as I said already at half-time. He is too predictable. He is too one-dimensional. He has no risk-taking whatsoever. And unfortunately, we're yet to see a substitute change a game this season. We've had players like Reece Nelson who came on against Burnley and he had a positive impact on the game in the way in which he ran at the defenders. But no one has come on yet. And we've looked at that game and gone, that substitute there changed the outcome of the game. We haven't had that yet because he's too one-dimensional.
There you go. That's a good answer. Thanks, Craig. Gussie Park, to finish, before we chat about Leeds, Gussie Park and Richie K are asking, why are we persisting with our away shirt? I think the away shirt's really nice. I thought that was a common opinion. No?
It's probably a suggestion which we seem to have every year, that the shirt's cursed, like that blue one we had the other year,
and that brown one we had in the championship.
Yeah, I think it's just playing away, isn't it? I don't think it necessarily matters what we wear. It doesn't change much, you know. What did we play in at West Ham? Was it the blue?
Yeah.
Maybe stick with that one then, if we're superstitious about that type of thing.
Should we? Go on, Craig.
What I wanted to say is, before we actually go on to Leeds, a question I wanted to put to you two, and actually everybody listening or watching at the moment, tonight is FA Cup round 3 draw. Who do we want for that one?
Give me another Grimsby away type fixture. I'd love that.
Yeah. Well, you've got Western-super-Mare still in it, the National League South Macclesfield are in it. My local team, Brackley Town, are at home to Burton Albion this evening in the FA Cup, so I'll be going down to that one, supporting on the National League teams. I'd love somewhere I've never been, somewhere like Cambridge, something like that.
But Boreham like a Millwall away or something. That'd be quite fun.
Boreham Wood are in this one. We had a track record of meeting Boreham Wood in round 1 of the FA Cup. Maybe we'll do it in round 3 this time, eh?
We always used to go there for pre-season as well, didn't we? We didn't. Did we go this year? We didn't, did we?
No.
I don't remember.
I don't think we've been for the last maybe 2 years.
Yeah. No, that'd be exciting, to be fair. See who we're getting that. Should we talk about Leeds? We've kind of thrown forward a little bit throughout the episode. It does feel big. It feels like every game's big with how tight the table is. I think, the home form makes me feel confident ahead of it. Dan, are you?
Yeah, it's interesting. So, Leeds have changed it up in their last couple of games. They've gone with back 5 to beat bigger teams, but will they face the pressure to maybe go back to back 4 and want to control things a bit more against us? It'll be interesting to see how they approach it. We will offer a very different threat to Chelsea and Liverpool. They're probably the team you would imagine who do a lot better at Ellen Road as well than they do on the road. They probably don't have a great record in London. So I think we can be confident. But they can hurt. I don't think they have a lot of goals in that side, the likes of Calvert-Lewin up front, but they're not going to be a bad team. I imagine they'll be well organised and they'll probably stay in the game. I reckon it could be fairly similar to the Burnley game. And obviously we got to look at then performing from earlier on in the game. I feel less confident than I would have under how we played last season, but we got the job done against Burnley, and I don't see the reason we can't get the job done here, but it's not going to be easy.
Craig?
Leeds have a fairly symmetrical season to what we've had so far. They've won 1 away game, got 3 points away from home so far this season. The only game that they won away from home was against Wolves. Yeah, they've gone to Burnley, lost 2-0. They lost 5-0 at Arsenal, went to Fulham and lost 3-0 at Brighton, 3-1 at Forest, and at City most recently in that tight game. But they've had some good results. That losing 3-2 at Man City and giving them quite a scare towards the end.
Yeah,
maybe that was Man City as well, because they went and then beat Fulham 5-4 and gave themselves a bit of a scare in that one as well, didn't they? Look at their last 3 games, which is a 3-2 defeat to Man City at the Etihad. Doesn't really seem like a bad result. Beat Chelsea 3-1 and then drew 3-3 with Liverpool. It's probably about time they get a trounce in, isn't it? So
yeah. Enter Dr. Brentford.
Enter Dr. Brentford. Look, we're at home. We have a fantastic home record. I'm confident in the way we play at the G-Tech. But Brentford are full of surprises.
Yeah, no, nothing would give me more happiness than like a real proper trouncing 4-0 home win. See the difference in quality. Whether we get that or not, I don't know. But we shall be back in midweek with the Leeds preview, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Remember to drop a comment down below with everything that we talked about in this episode. Loads of questions to get through, so it'll be really interesting to hear what you thought of our takes on everything. Subscribe to the YouTube and Spotify channels. Follow us on the socials at the Eden Road on Twitter, at Eden Road Pod on Instagram. Gents, a pleasure as always, but Brentford, still Brentford away from home.
Up the bees.
Up the bees.